the pitch. Is Luke towards shortstop. Petroselli's back. He's got it. The Red Sox win. And it's pandemonium on the field.
Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, brought to you each week by the National Sports Collectors Convention. Join us every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and get the latest news from the greatest experts in the sports collectibles world. You can watch us on the Great American Collectibles Facebook page, as well as YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And now your hosts, award-winning sports collectibles author Tom Zappala and Boston sports media personality John Mallory.
Oh, that's right. He has to unmute you. Are we unmuted, John?
We're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, there we go.
Just talk.
Damn, bro. How are you?
Yeah, what are you guys waiting for me to say some shit?
No.
I don't know what the hell
Hey, my show.
Lou had to unmute everybody.
Jesus.
And Mallory's, he's always the toughest to unmute. Hey, welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show. Tom Zapp, my partner, Red Sox. No, not Red Sox Hall of Fame. You're not Rico. Boston sports personality, JM, John Mallory.
Methuen Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there you go. I wish you got thrown out of the city of Boston. Hey, we got a good show. Our good friend, Joe Orlando, Executive Vice President of Heritage Auctions. Past president, how's that have? That works. Like George Bush. Past president of Leland's, currently just a phenomenal collector, a tremendous collector. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you know this, the Godfather is on with us, Charles White. I don't know if you know this, but Hef has the most extensive wrestling collection pretty much in the country, I would say, Mike, right? It's got to be.
I would hope it is, with the amount of money that I spent on it. So, I think it's one of the better ones, and I would say it. The only one that might be better might be the WWE's.
So Hef, it might not be the most extensive, but it's the most expensive.
It's definitely the most expensive. Yeah. That's my wife.
It might be the most extensive.
Yeah.
And our special guest, a.k.a. the Godfather, Charles White, a.k.a.
Wait.
Papa Shango.
Stop.
What else?
Stop.
Go.
First of all, I am not Charles White. I am Charles Wright. W-R-I-G-H-T. Stop calling me White. I know I'm a little light-skinned for a black guy, but I ain't white. I'm right.
Charles,
you better off just calling me Godfather.
Just
call me Godfather so you don't mess up no more.
If only we were live in studio together, so you could give Zapp a forearm smash right now.
Oh, Jesus. He just keeps doing it, too.
And Papa Shango also. How's that?
Right? I'm not even going to address that.
Legendary, though. Legendary.
Shango.
Papa Shango.
God. Well,
you're starting off good with me.
I'll tell you what. How about this? How about WWF Intercontinental Champion, WWF Tag Team Champion, and
Bull Buchanan.
WWF Hall of Famer. How's that?
All of those, man. Isn't that great? Isn't that
Outstanding,
cool?
brother. Outstanding.
That is really cool. That is really cool. All right, listen, so we're going to be all over the place today. Obviously, this is our wrestling show. Out of the gate, before we get on the air, I asked you the question: injuries in the WWF. How prevalent? How often? How did you survive?
To be honest, it's prevalent. They're all over. You're wrestling hurt all the time. I don't think you're ever wrestling at any point where something's not hurting. Where I really feel it is now that I've gotten older. I'm 64 years old now, and up until maybe 10 years ago, I'm like, I don't feel it. But man, I've had a hip replaced, a knee replaced. I got to get another knee replaced. I literally this morning have to stretch for 30, 40 minutes just to feel okay. So they're prevalent. Yeah. And they carry on. So I'm doing the best that I can right now to take care of myself. I've dropped probably, I went from 320, now I'm 245, 250. I eat different, so I'm trying to fool them as long as I can.
Good for you, Jam.
Charles, how long did you wrestle professionally?
I started in 88, and my last match was '03 probably.
So I
But
mean,
I
you
would
really,
come in and go a lot though.
you spanned like across a lot of different personalities, a lot of different incarnations of the WWF, then to the WWE. When you look back, your highest moment was it getting that Intercontinental title with Bull Buchanan? Obviously, the Hall of Fame, I know in the end was your highest one, but what do you look back as a couple of highlights for you?
Man, one of the biggest things for me was back then, like everybody has T-shirts right now. But back then, '90s, early '90s, not everybody had T-shirts, and they
Yeah,
weren't
yeah.
selling. They weren't selling on the internet, and they weren't selling. They were only selling in the buildings. And so what I always tell people my biggest accomplishment was my very first shirt, and it was a Pimpin' Ain't Easy shirt, and it sold so well. That was my very first shirt ever with them. It sold so well that there was only so many spots at the buildings, and Stone had one, and Brett, I mean, everybody, all the top guys had one, and to get in there, you had to have a shirt to compete. And once I got in there with that Pimpin' Ain't Easy shirt, I stayed in there until finally the RTC, and then that pulled me out of it. So that
That's
was one of
awesome.
my greatest
Hey,
accomplishments.
Joe, you have any Pimpin' Ain't Easy shirts coming up in the next Heritage auction?
Not that my wife knows about.
Hard to find.
Given away
Hard. They sold one in charity for like $1,500, and then I had a Nation shirt with the fist that they sold in charity for about the same. And they're hard to find.
Very cool.
Very hard to find.
Charles, how influential or your relationship with the Undertaker? I mean, goes back. Was he a help to you when you got into the WWF? Or
I mean, come on now. He's my best friend.
Oh yes.
So I'm sure it was a lot of help for me to get in there. But once you got in there, you had to stay in there, and you know. But yeah, a lot of influence. But still, I just talked to him a couple of days ago. One of my best friends.
Awesome.
Hey, Hef, obviously you're an aficionado of wrestling, not only with your collection, but I know you know the sport. You follow the sport. I'm a couple years older than you, but we're pretty much in the same era. I like when I knew Charles was coming on the show, the first thing I thought of was Papa Shango. And everybody knows, the Hulk Hogan's, the Ric Flairs, those guys. But to me, it's like Papa Shango was like one of my favorite all-time wrestlers, and I know you probably feel the same way. There's just so many great characters to go along with the athleticism.
Right. People don't know what happened to Papa Shango was not Vince. What happened to Papa Shango was Bear Charles Wright, not Charles White. Charles Wright.
All right already.
I was going through a real ugly divorce,
Yeah.
and I had changed from a normal person back to this guy called the Bear, who was more of a mean biker type of dude.
Yeah.
And I was literally getting in fights every night because of what was going on with this divorce.
Oh.
And me, Vince, and Undertaker literally had a long talk, and we decided the best thing for me was to go home and get my mind right. Because what people don't understand is I always was owner of a strip club. So I always had a means of making money. Money wasn't the issue. And so for me, wrestling was fun. But
Yeah.
anyway, so they kind of phased him out like that. But that's what happened to Pop. I was getting in a lot of real fights and a lot of bad stuff. I was in a bad place.
And that voodoo stuff doesn't work outside the
No,
ring.
man.
That's the problem.
Voodoo.
Right, yeah.
I think the bear is stronger than the voodoo.
There, right?
Charles, what was the one big signature event of your career, if you had to pick one?
Wow. I mean, in wrestling would have to be the Hall of Fame, man. I mean, I never thought that I'd be in. I always thought if I get in there, they're gonna have to create a special category. But you look back, man, and I've been on. I was gonna ask John Cone about this in the WWE, but I've been on a Legends contract since 2003. I've been on it consistently since 2003, and I bet you there's very few people, if any, that have been on it that long or
Charles,
that haven't
what
dropped
is
off.
what is that for people that don't know?
The Legends it's basically a merchandise contract.
Oh, appearances and things like that?
No. Appearances are separate.
Okay.
Appearances are completely separate. their contract, you're not obligated to do anything for them. They have the right to put you in their video games. They came out with 2 brand new action figures of me this year alone, a Papa Shango Warrior set and a Godfather.
Nice.
The appearances are, I mean, completely separate. I just signed 2,000 cards for Topps Panini at WrestleMania. I mean, that's a whole separate thing that they pay you for too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it works out for some. If they use you, and if they have stuff of your merchandise of yours that's still selling, it's a good deal. If they're not doing nothing with you, then it's not a good deal. They've never tried to stop me from doing anything. Plus, I do own I have the rights to Papa Shango and Godfather, but
Oh, neat.
they're
That's
cool with me.
very
They've
neat.
never tried to stop me ever. Have they tried to stop me? And believe me, I've done some wild things with the name.
That's very cool. Did you, as a kid growing up, did you follow wrestling?
Believe it or not, never watched wrestling when I was a kid.
Really?
I grew up in the 70s, all right? In the Bay Area in California, roller derby was way bigger than wrestling. And that's what we grew up watching. I mean, we went to wrestling every now and then, but it was the Cow Palace, the San Jose Civic Auditorium.
Dallas,
I
yeah,
mean, roller derby was big in the 70s, real big.
it
And
was.
that's when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Hef,
We
what's
had,
the
go ahead.
as a fan, as a collector, what's the lasting, almost eternal allure of professional wrestling as someone who's really kind of immersed himself in the sport?
I'm
That
sorry.
was for
me,
you,
What was
Hef.
the question,
That
John?
was for you, Mike. For you, Mike.
What
Yeah.
was the question, John?
What do you think is the lasting allure of pro wrestling for fans?
I just think
What keeps bringing new generations to the television set?
I just think it's the entertainment value and the sports value. It combines the two things. As Charles was telling you, it hurts. Like it's a
Oh,
real deal. It's the real deal. It's the real
Yeah.
thing. But
it
yet there's
is.
so much entertainment value. And just look how Charles, portrayed his characters and his gimmicks. I mean, it combines. It's the only thing on earth that really combines the acting talent of a person along with the athleticism of a person. I mean, if I could go back in time, I would be a professional wrestler. But I'm 5'8", 160 pounds, and I have no agility. So now, I'd have to come back as in Charles' body, basically, to become a professional
Oh,
wrestler. But that's always been my dream, So that's I still follow it, but I still like everything about it, and I so highly value the talent of these people.
Yeah.
It's you don't know it until you really analyze it. You don't know.
oh,
that-
and I'm telling you, I'm in better shape than most, and it takes a toll, man. Your body. I don't know if it's easier on the young guys today because they do crazier things, but they're not wrestling 300 days a year either, like we were.
Yeah.
Right.
And traveling like we were, and
Right.
not
Right.
taking nothing away from the young kids. Because when I do watch, man, they do some outrageous. I'm like, whoa! Sometimes I do autograph signings, right, or at wrestling shows, and I might stay for the show, and I watch these kids go over their spots, and I'm sitting there going, "How do you guys remember all this stuff, man?" I'm used to just kind of saying, "What's the finish?" All right, I'll
Well,
see you out there.
Right.
Charles, you're making a point that I've always wondered about. So when there's a big time event, WrestleMania, or just a championship match, or just even a regular match, how much rehearsing goes into the match prior to you actually getting into the ring, or is there any rehearsing?
First of all, before the match, you've already worked with the guy 30, 40 times. So
Okay.
you already know each other. I would say any type of big match, you're going to go over it way before that day, and you're going to start going over it before and have ideas before and do certain things because you know the program, you know the match. So you're going to be prepared for it. By the time the match comes, you're already ready for it. And you're going to go over some certain things. But I mean, you're going to go over it a much more. I mean, you can't just say meet you on the ring on that, but
Right.
wrestling 300 days in house shows, it would be more like, what's the finish? All right, I'll see you
So
out there.
there's a lot of ad libbing. There's got to be a lot
Yeah,
of ad,
it
right?
was during my era. I don't know about now because, like I
Yeah.
said, they do so many spots. I mean, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, Joe, what drew you to wrestling as a fan and your continued fandom?
I'm sorry.
What drew you to wrestling as a fan? Because
Yeah,
I know you grew up with it as well.
I did. Yeah. I was going to say, and I don't mean this as a sort of a controversial question or an issue, but even though today, you have social media and the internet and all this stuff, I felt like growing up, because I grew up kind of in 80s, 90s, and I felt like then, and it may just be the way I'm looking at it, I felt like as a casual fan that it was more mainstream, even without social media, without the internet. I felt like all of my friends watched wrestling to a degree. Some were hardcore, some were casual.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's as mainstream as it used to be, because I have young children and I have nieces and nephews, and I don't feel like it's as mainstream. But I was wondering what you guys thought about that, kind of the difference in kind of 80s, 90s versus today.
Hef, you can answer that question.
Well, I think that the 80s, 90s, I mean, you were allowed to do, Charles, again, a perfect example. I mean, it's much more censored now than it was in the 80s and 90s.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
You couldn't get away with the stuff that Charles did now.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's
in and out of the ring.
They wouldn't even allow the stuff Charles did on the streaming version, you know? Like,
could you imagine? No,
that was a great period. Like Joe said, the 80s, 90s, like it was, especially the Attitude Era in the 90s was incredible, because you could just do so much stuff, and now you're so much more limited. But that was a special time. But we're going to look back in 20 years and say this, this was a special time too, because that's the thing with wrestling; it's always evolving. I mean, you go from
yes, it is.
60s,
and
70s,
Joe,
80s,
I think that's a great.
evolving.
I think that's a great point you made, Joe, because I think growing up, and I was a little before, I'll be 60 in September. And so I started sort of in the mid 70s, late 70s, then into the 80s and 90s. But it was appointment viewing. And it used to be just on the weekend. Saturday, Sunday was like you watch the WWF, then you might even get WCW, down south, whatever. And then in Florida, Gordon Soley and all those guys, it was like, it was appointment viewing. It was much more intimate. You know what I mean? And then obviously with expansion, it got great. I'm not putting it down. I mean, I'm wearing my Hulkamania shirt right now. You know what I mean? I love when it exploded in the mid and late 80s. But I agree, Joe. I think it was different then. It was more mainstream and it was more focused on it. There's so many other things now, especially for kids. And Charles, I'm sure you're glad that you did it when you did, because there weren't phones following you around wherever you went, right? There was none of this. But
hey, I was lucky enough to be part of the crowd that Vince used to go out with us.
Oh, geez.
Oh yeah, me, Taker, and Vince used to go out a lot together, man.
Well, Charles, this has been a real pleasure. Thanks, seriously, man. Thanks for joining us. I know you got a really busy schedule. Charles, WRIGHT. How's that, brother, right?
Listen, forever in my heart, Papa Shango, my man. I love it.
Oh, nothing but love, guys. Thanks for having me on here. Chat with you guys for a while.
Thanks, Godfather. Wishing you the best down the road. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Take care. Sounds right. All right, listen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be wrestle. We got all kinds of stuff. You guys talk about Hulk Hogan. You guys talk about Bret Hart. You don't talk about guys like Killer Kowalski or Gorgeous George or Lou Thez. Those are the wrestlers, guys. Those are the wrestlers.
And then they invented electricity.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Hang in there. Mike's in the house. Joe's in the house. Mallory's in the house. And Louie is behind the scenes. We'll be right back.
I'm Rebecca Curry, a two-time child cancer survivor, recipient, and advocate for Lucy's Love Bus. The mission of Lucy's Love Bus, 501c3 nonprofit, is to provide joy, comfort, and quality of life for the entire family of children with cancer. Since 2006, they have delivered love and comfort to over 3,000 children with cancer and their family members across New England. The dream of Lucy Grogan, an 11-year-old cancer patient, was to help kids with cancer who are suffering right now, before there is a cure, by offering free, integrative therapies like art, music, horseback riding, and many other activities. Unfortunately, Lucy passed away, but her dream lives on, and today Lucy's Love Bus is thriving.
I'm Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petrocelli. I hope that you'll consider supporting Lucy's Love Bus and all of those children who have been stricken by cancer. The Great American Collectibles Show is partnering with Lucy's Love Bus to help these kids. Let's continue Lucy's dream. Please go to lucy'slovebus.org for more information.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back, and Mike Hefner's in the house. Joe Orlando's in the house. John Mallory's in the house. Hey, guys, I got to ask you a question. He's not going to, track me down and beat the shit out of me, is he? Because I pronounced his name incorrectly?
I wouldn't blame him, Tom. Honestly, I wouldn't blame him if he did.
I mean,
I would lay low.
Yeah. I did just text him your address and phone number.
That's great. I greatly appreciate that. Hey, by the way, collectors and sports fan, this one's for you. The National Sports Collectors Convention is teaming up with hobbyists like you to support Make-A-Wish Illinois and St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital through the 2025 card fundraising sweepstakes. And it's your chance to win big for a great cause. Iconic prizes are up for grabs, like a 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle graded SGC 5, a 1986 Flair Michael Jordan PSA 9, and an incredible original painting by sports artist Murray Henderson titled Chicago Sports Legends. Here's how it works. Donate just $25 to enter. And yes, you can enter up to 40 times. The more you give, the more chances you have to win, and 100% of the proceeds are split evenly between St. Jude and Make-A-Wish Illinois. Winners will be drawn on August 6th, and all items will be on display at the 45th National Sports Collectors Convention. Don't wait. Head to nsccshow.com/card fundraising sweepstakes to enter today. That's ncshow.com/card fundraising sweepstakes. Collect, give back, and win big. I wasn't kidding, guys. When I said, you guys, you talk about Ric Flair, not Ric Flair, you talk about Bret Hart and all these guys. But, Hef, in reality, I mean, the guys like Killer Kowalski, Bruno Sammartino, Spiros Arion, Dominic Nanucci, the Sheik, all of these guys, though, I mean, no, Haystacks Calhoun, Toru Tanaka, didn't they really lay the foundation for what it has become today?
Yeah, I mean, those guys that you just mentioned, I mean, they're Hall of Fame caliber, and they are the pioneers. It's like looking back and saying, the Mickey Mantles and the Lou Gehrig's, but it goes back even further because back in the 1920s, there were guys like mainstream guys like Bronco Nagurski, who after he played football, he came to the wrestling ring, and Jack Dempsey, who even though most of the matches he was in, he refereed, but he brought it to the mainstream. And Gorgeous George, I mean, Gorgeous George Gorgeous George didn't only bring wrestling to the public. He basically introduced television to the public, because right around the time that Gorgeous George was wrestling, television became popular, came out, and a lot of people bought TVs just so they could see Gorgeous George wrestle.
Yeah. Awesome. Joe, a quick question for Joe. Joe, what's today's status on wrestling cards? Up, down, stagnant?
Way up. I think we're in this generational cycle where, some people consider, for example, like for basketball, a lot of people consider the 80s and 90s kind of like the golden era of basketball. I think the same is true for wrestling. I mean, again, I'm coming at it from a perspective of a casual fan. I did see all those major guys, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper at the sports arena. I had my Hot Rod t-shirt. I came from a wrestling family, but I was a casual fan. But today, I think we're in this cycle where stuff that, let's say 20, 25 years ago could be purchased, at a fraction of what it's worth today. I mean, a great example, in the Summer Platinum event that we have in August, we have one of the finest 1982 Wrestling All-Star Series A sets. It's a 36 card set. It's got the Hulk Hogan rookie card, Ric Flair rookie card, all those things. That is going to sell for over $100,000. 20 or 25 years ago, I'm not sure you could get a grand or two.
Really?
But I think it's experiencing, again, we all go through this generational cycle as it relates to nostalgia. And now guys that are in their 40s and 50s, they remember, like, that was their childhood. They remember those days. And so you're seeing this escalation in cards. And, obviously Michael talked about memorabilia as well, but the robes, the costumes, I mean, everything related to those major personalities of the day has escalated in the last couple of decades.
Well, Hef, one other thing, Joe brought out a good point about the memorabilia. One of the key pieces in my memorabilia collection is a framed picture of myself sitting on a chair at your house with my Randy Savage hat on that you let me put on my head. It's awesome. My grandchildren love it. They absolutely love it. I'll tell you, your collection. I mean, Joe, have you ever seen Hef's collection?
Only in pictures.
It's like it's mind-boggling. Seriously, it is mind-boggling. When I walked into that room, Michael, and I saw just the robes, and I mean, it was like incredible. I said, "Are you freaking kidding me? Do you have like a robe from every wrestler that ever wrestled?"
No, I mean, I'd like to get there, and I'm really focusing. I'm trying because Rachel, my wife, is really on me. The whole basement now is consumed with wrestling stuff. My ultimate goal is to build a museum, which we're working on finding a location. How
about my house?
Your house will be probably a little bit too out of the way, but I want to come and visit my stuff every day. So. that's the ultimate goal. But I mean, I have a lot of robes, but not all wrestlers wore robes. Not all of them were flashy with gimmicks. So take, for instance, Hulk Hogan. I mean, most of the time he came into the ring 95% of the time, 98% of the time with a T-shirt that he ripped off and a pair of yellow trunks. So really the only things out there from Hulk Hogan are, his boots, or a couple pairs of his boots out there, and some trunks. So, that's about as good as you're going to get when it comes to Hulk Hogan stuff.
Zap, I think you made a good point before with some of those guys you mentioned. And, when I first started, Bruno Sammartino was the champ. I think there's a forgotten man of professional wrestling, which is Bob Backlund, who was a champ. He was a champ for a long time. And then once Hogan, in fact, Backlund was supposed to fight the Iron Sheik, and they sent Hogan out instead because Hogan had become this megastar, largely thanks to, he was going to be in the Rocky movie. Remember, him and Stallone did that scene in the Rocky movie. And you guys I want all you guys to chime in on this. I think it really changed with two guys, and that was Vince McMahon when he took over from his
father.
Yeah, because Vince was like the announcer
right
when I first started watching. I think it was McMahon and Hogan, and McMahon and Hogan took it to a different level, and it hasn't really stopped since then. Hogan was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I think he's still the only pro wrestler ever to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. But talk about those two guys. Those two guys changed the game for us.
I think you're right. I think, but there are other guys like Andre the Giant.
100%.
I mean, there was a whole crew at that time. Rowdy Roddy, guys. But again, prior to them, I mean, there were some studs. I'm talking George the Animal Steel, example, right? I mean, there was a guy that really kind of took it to another level with his entertainment value.
Yeah.
Professor Toro Tanaka with the salt and put you to sleep with his sleeper hold.
Fuji and Tanaka, great team.
I mean, they were classic wrestlers. And then of course, the guy. I think you guys were kids. But Lou Albano, man, he was awesome.
Captain Lou.
The captain was awesome.
And
right?
then think about what he did with, and that's where it exploded, because MTV, and again, I don't want to dominate. You guys can certainly have. I know MTV then jumped into the wrestling thing.
Cyndi Lauper.
And Cyndi Lauper put Albano in her Girls Just Want to Have Fun video. And that's when it became, Joe, you mentioned mainstream. That's when it became not this Saturday morning geographical thing, but a national phenomenon, really.
Hef, what's your take on all this?
Well, I think, the most influential person, other than, I do value Gorgeous George's contribution. I really do think he brought it to TV, which was really pretty incredible. But, pretty much no questions asked, whether you love him or you hate him. Vince McMahon Sr. Really is the guy who put wrestling in the place it is today. So, I give him all the credit in the world. I know some of his maneuvering and things weren't really, some of them were a little bit sketchy when it came to ethics, but, when he acquired the territories and the like, but he really did make it a worldwide thing. And that's what has it to where it's at today. So
I'm going to ask Lou, as a kid, were you a big wrestling fan?
Yeah, huge. And it was funny when the Godfather started talking about roller derby. Saturday mornings was street hockey, come in to watch the wrestling, watch the roller derby, go out and play street hockey again. That was my Saturday mornings.
Well, that's a damn good Saturday morning.
Now, Snow and Samoans, the Iron Sheik, that era down there, that was great. But
Samoans, yeah.
Oh, the Samoans, Samoans.
I fell in love around Rock and Kurt Angle and Triple H and that era. That was the era that I really fell in love with it. And I was rather adult. And all my friends were involved. That's when it moved out of Saturday, John, as you mentioned. Monday Night Raw. We'd go to the health club and then we'd go sit in a bar at night and watch Monday Night Raw together.
my brother Al and John and Luno, my brother, used to beat the hell out of me every Saturday morning. Every Saturday morning, he beat the hell out of me because he was like 2 years older,
and he's bigger than you too.
He would try all these, he just like annihilated me every freaking Saturday, and I became like the Pete Sanchez or the Johnny Rods or the Frank Hickeys.
Who was the dude from Pete Doherty? Was it the dude from
those
Yeah.
Go Murko. I'm going to throw that one out.
Right, exactly. I think Pete Sanchez in his career went 0-500.
You know what I like? My favorite guy like that was the unpredictable Johnny Rods.
Johnny Rods.
Yeah.
Because
Hall
you know
of
he was,
Famer.
and you know why he was unpredictable? Because we didn't know how he was going to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the
I can't believe
unpredictable
he's in the
Johnny
Hall of
Rods.
Fame. Yeah.
I know.
And then there was a guy named Frank Hickey. I don't know if you remember him, but Frank Hickey, he used to dress up like a bumblebee, and he never, ever won a match in my entire childhood. Never. Just absolutely incredible.
Listen, I don't think the contribution, you mentioned him, as we talk about guys that made an impact, I don't think you can overlook the contribution of Roddy Piper. I mean, that dude with Piper's Pit, my favorite moment, maybe even in the history of television, was when he hit Jimmy Snuka on the forehead with a coconut. You know, because to be hit in the head with your native fruit, to me, is like a moment. And he sucked up to him. He said how great he was. He picked up a coconut, hit him right in the head. Yeah. Roddy Piper was, to me, as big a personality as Hogan or anybody else.
You know, Joe and Hef, I don't know if you know this. We talked about it last week, but Lou and I were pretty much responsible for the death of one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Lou, why don't you tell the story?
Randy Savage, who Tom and I were doing another show, and I have no idea why I did it, but at that particular show, I was doing drops of Randy Macho Man Savage during the show. I just had all kinds of sound clips of him talking and kept dropping them. And I'm not sure if he died during the show, but he died that day.
Oh, Jesus.
Great. That's a bad thing to have on your conscience.
Yeah. So we're
now listen, based on Ringside Intel's 5 greatest wrestlers. Now, see, this is interesting. We've talked about all of these guys.
Yeah.
And one guy we have not mentioned. We're going to start with number 5, Lou. Number 5, John Cena. Now, he's considered, again, this is according to a survey that Ringside Intel took. So they have him rated as the 5th greatest wrestler of all time, who, by the way, lives right across the river from me. Built a beautiful home. His mom lives there now, John, right? I think his mom and dad.
Yeah, his dad's a good friend of mine. He worked with him for many years.
Yeah, we all love John Cena, but Hef, are you on board with this? Top 5?
No, I don't know who's number 5, but it's not John Cena.
All right, let's go through the list.
I'm not on board with that.
All right, let's go through the list, and then you guys decide. Number 4, The Rock.
Too low.
I'm okay with The Rock in the top 5, definitely.
Oh, he's a top 5, definitely.
Number 3, Hulk Hogan.
Too low.
Number 2, The Undertaker.
I'm glad that Charles Wright isn't here because it's his best friend, but he shouldn't even be on this list.
No,
really.
I agree.
All right, and number one, interesting, and he's a great wrestler, but he never mentioned him. Stone Cold Steve Austin, number 1.
Tough one. He's not number 1, but
all right. So, Mike, who are your top 5?
Yeah, there's nobody from the Pioneer, era on there. I would say, in no specific order, I would agree with Hogan. You have to put Flair somewhere on there.
Absolutely.
I mean,
100%.
instead of
I agree with you.
Undertaker or Cena, you definitely have to put him on there. Just because of his drawing ability, I think you put Andre the Giant on there. The Rock, I 100% agree with. As far as mic skills and wrestling, combined, like you couldn't beat it. And who was the other one that was on the list? I wouldn't put Stone Cold on. No way. Not enough wrestling ability. Not enough talent. Great on the mic. Great character, but not
Hogan. The Undertaker was the other one.
I would replace Undertaker, Cena, and and I would put, like I said, Andre the Giant on there. I would put Ric Flair on there. Undertaker's close, but it's more so Undertaker without the gimmick is Mark Calloway, who's great, but he's not Rock.
I mean, his like Hef, his persona when he first came out was great. Like top 5 maybe personas.
Yes,
I'll definitely consider with Paul Bearer and all that, right? Like that was pretty cool when it first came out.
Yes.
But I wouldn't put him on this particular.
I would put Gorgeous George on the list for sure.
Okay.
I would put Gorgeous George.
So San Martino, no? San Martino? I mean,
I think San Martino's close. I mean, he's a top 10 guy, but he sort of got stale. I mean, he was a great draw, but he was sort of champion for too long, and especially if you look at the way championships change hands these days. I mean, he was great, and for that time period, he was great. But I think he hung around a little bit too long. I think they kept him on a little bit too long.
Joe, any thoughts? You want to chime in here?
Yeah, I'm way too casual of a fan to have anything intelligent to say here, but I will go back to something.
That doesn't stop anyone on this show, Joe.
Exactly.
Well said. Good, well played. But I will go back to something that Mike said earlier, which is, the combination of personality, comedy, acting skills with the athleticism. I guess it depends on what the list is based on. Is it wrestling? Is it like their athleticism? Is it their character? Because I mean, it just depends on what the criteria is, because you could come up with, who are the top 5 characters of all time? That might be a different list of who are the top 5 wrestlers, like all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the biggest omission here is Stacy Keibler. I just got to say it.
And listen, you can throw Tori Wilson in there too.
Yeah, there you go.
What about the fabulous Moolah? She was like undefeated for 50 years. Yeah,
Moolah was
80.
Moolah was pretty. If you read up on Moolah, I think she gets a bad rap. I really do. That came out about her abusing the girls and the like, and but she started the careers of so many of these girls, trained in her facility, and she ran a camp, and it was a hardcore camp. I mean, she made these girls work, and there were certain, like I was just reading about Wendy Richter, or not Wendy Richter, Sherry Martell went to Moolah's, and she couldn't do it because Moolah was so strict that she wouldn't let the girls go out to bars and carouse and stuff at night. She would make them get to bed at a certain time, and she literally trained them for months to become professional wrestlers. Now, she made a lot of money then farming them out to various territories and the like, but she did train them and make good livings for them. So, she was very high up on influence.
Before we take a break, and by the way, when we come back, we are going to announce again the Sweet 16 NBA greatest teams. We're going to start the AIC tournament in a couple of weeks. But JM, why don't you tell us about our friends at Wheatland Auctions?
I will do that, Zap. Wheatland Auctions is at it again. The great thing about Wheatland is that there's literally something for everyone. Right now, their June auction is open for bidding, and it's going to be a blockbuster. The auction ends Sunday, June 22nd, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All lots start at just $5 with no reserve. So go to www.wheatlandauctionservices.com. Highlights include T206's tobacco cards, many T206 Hall of Famers such as Ty Cobb, SGC 4.5, Bat Off Shoulder, Old Mill Back, SGC 3, Bat On Shoulder, SGC 5, Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, Tris Speaker, Cy Young, and so much more. Some of the featured current extra sports card signatures include Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, Jayden Daniels, Mario Lemieux, Reggie White, and more. Signed baseballs include Mickey Mantle, Shohei Ohtani, Nolan Ryan, Tony Gwynn, and more. Graded rookie cards include Tom Seaver, SGC 7.5, Clemente, Yogi Berra, Nolan Ryan, Terry Bradshaw, Carew, Johnny Bench, and signed Mario Lemieux, and many more. Tons of non-sports sets as well, from the early 1900s through the 1960s. The auction will be into close on June 22nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. That's Eastern Time. The auction ends one lot at a time, so don't miss out. Go to wheatlandauctionservices.com and bring some sports history home. Again, www.wheatlandauctionservices.com to register and place your bids today.
All right, listen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's going to be the Gacs AI Sweet 16 NBA All-Tournament Sweet 16, powered by Danny Shapiro, the basketball savant. And remember, please send all of your bitches directly to Dan. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We're going to go through the list, talk a little more wrestling. We're going to talk about Heritage's auction schedule. They got some blockbusters coming up. Hefner's in the house. Mallory's in the house. We're all in the house. Charles Wright, not White, Charles Wright was with us. Charles, I'm publicly apologizing to you. Please don't hurt me. That's
You
all.
should probably send him a letter, Tom.
I think so. No
All right,
doubt.
we're going to take a quick break. Hang in there. We will be right back.
I'm Rebecca Curry, a two-time child cancer survivor, recipient, and advocate for Lucy's Love Bus. The mission of Lucy's Love Bus, 501c3 nonprofit, is to provide joy, comfort, and quality of life for the entire family of children with cancer. Since 2006, they have delivered love and comfort to over 3,000 children with cancer and their family members across New England. The dream of Lucy Grogan, an 11-year-old cancer patient, was to help kids with cancer who are suffering right now, before there is a cure, by offering free, integrative therapies like art, music, horseback riding, and many other activities. Unfortunately, Lucy passed away, but her dream lives on, and today Lucy's Love Bus is thriving.
I'm Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petroselli. I hope that you'll consider supporting Lucy's Love Bus and all of those children who have been stricken by cancer. The Great American Collectibles Show is partnering with Lucy's Love Bus to help these kids. Let's continue Lucy's dream. Please go to lucyslovebus.org for more information.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you are a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on the tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. Highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Okay, we are back, and as mentioned, next week we're going to begin the Gacs A1 Sweet 16 NBA All-Time Tournament, powered by Danny Shapiro, the basketball savant. And remember, any bitches you have, send them right to Dan. All right, so here's the Sweet 16 based on the IA information that we kind of threw into the computer and they spit back at us. Number 1, 95-96 Chicago Bulls. Number 2, 2016-17 Golden State Warriors. Number 3, the 85-86 Celtics. Number 4, the 86-87 Lakers. Number 5, the 66-67 76ers. Number 6, the 71-72 Lakers. Number 7, the 2012-13 Miami Heat. Number 8, the 91-92 Chicago Bulls. Number 9, the 96-97 Chicago Bulls. Number 10, the 2013-14 San Antonio Spurs. Number 11, the 2014-15 Golden State Warriors. Number 12, the 2000-2001 Lakers. Number 13, the 82-83 Sixers. Number 14, the 70-71 Bucks. Number 15, the 60-61 Celtics. And number 16, the 63-64 Celtics. So next week, we will have the results of the first game between the number 1 seed Chicago Bulls 1995-96 and the 1963-64 Boston Celtics. Personally, I think that could get real ugly.
That could get.
I could be wrong in that one.
That could get ugly, right?
It really could. One thing that's really interesting. We are not going to be there will not be a defined score of a game like 125 to 116. What we're going to do is based on, because I've already seen some of the results just to make sure, they're going to have who won the game, who played well, why they played well, but we're not going to have specific, Larry Bird scored 32 or Michael Jordan scored 28 or whatever, but it's going to be fun. All right, let's get back to a little wrestling talk. Joe, you know what I want to ask you, though? I read your article, and I want to ask you this, and I'm glad I remembered. If you make a few bucks on a particular card or a piece of memorabilia, I've always taken the approach, if I want to sell it, don't get greedy. Sell it if you need the money, sell it when you want to, but it's not really necessary to ride it to the very top. Does it depend? What does that all depend on when you should sell a card or a piece of memorabilia?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're all collectors here on the call, and the listeners are collectors too. So they'll understand what I mean by this. Our wiring, tells us to acquire and build and assemble. So it's much harder, I think, as a collector to get rid of something than it is to buy something. It's just not how we're programmed. But I think there are situations, and we're all guilty of this from time to time, where we hold just a little bit too long. And we keep thinking, everything's just going to keep going up and up. But there will be that moment in time where you hear a number on something that you own, and it's best to pull the trigger and take the deal, because remember, you can always take those proceeds and put it right back into your collection and continue on. In the moment, it's hard to part with something that you really love, but as most collectors know, sometimes you have to get rid of something you like for something you like more. That's just the way it is.
Right.
Because we all have some kind of a budget, but I really think it's something that, again, we've all been guilty of at one time or another, where we dig our heels in, we hold, and then the market, it's escalating, and then a few years later it goes down, and we're wondering, why didn't we take advantage of that opportunity?
And that's kind of a part of yours, and Hef, you can chime in here too, your guys' jobs, right? When a client comes to you and says, what should I do with this piece? And sometimes they don't like what you say because they just saw that Mickey Mantle went for $12 million, right? And they're like, what do you mean I should do this? And that's part of what you do, right?
Correct. I mean, and I think it's always, for your reputation and your credibility, I believe, you have to remain in that place when you're talking to a potential consignor. You have to tell them where the market is, because look, there are certain areas of the market, for example, right now, for whatever reason, and we don't have to get into this, team signed baseballs are kind of soft, vintage team signed baseballs, for whatever reason. Like, they just haven't escalated like some of the other categories have over the past several years. Tickets a few years ago had this just crazy spike in the market. The really iconic tickets have held up, but the kind of middle of the road tickets have come down. They're soft. I think it's important when you're talking to a potential consignor to explain, like, this may not be the right time, because it's about that relationship. You're building a relationship with someone, and you don't want to mislead them. You don't want to tell them that this is the right thing to do at this time when it's not.
Hef, are you still collecting?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely. Well, I'm collecting a lot of wrestling, as you know.
Yeah.
But I'm still adding to my baseball collection. I'm sort of trying to wean myself off the other sports, because the hockey, the basketball.
How about your electric guitars?
Excuse me?
How about your electric guitars?
Oh, I still have those. I was actually just looking at possibly purchasing some more of those. But yeah, they make great displays. But getting back to the thing that you were saying before, I think the best time, and that Joe was talking about, I think the best time to sell something is when someone really wants it. It's impossible to time the market, but I always found when someone keeps hounding me for something and hounding me for something and hounding me for it, and then I look back and say, why didn't I sell it to that guy?
Sure.
That guy really wanted it, and he was going to pay more than anybody else.
Hey, Hef, how much for a Game 1, Show 1 signed Hulk Hogan T-shirt, signed by Hogan with a picture? In 2013, I met him at his shop.
Did you wear it, John? Did you wear it, or did Hulk Hogan wear it?
No, I wore it. It's Show 1.
Oh, well, I think we have to subtract a little bit for that.
Jeez.
We had chatting with
that's probably $500.
Right there, baby. Right there.
We're chatting with Joe Orlando and Mike Hefner. Hey, JM, why don't you tell us about our good friends at the CSA shows, Joe Drellick and company.
You got it, Zab. CSA Shows is proud to present the Chantilly Show, being held from June 27th to June 29th at the Dulles Expo Center in Chantilly, Virginia, just minutes from the Dulles International Airport. Celebrating 29 years at the same location, there'll be over 450 dealer tables exhibiting on over 125,000 square feet of space. With both vintage sports cards, memorabilia, as well as modern-day sports treasures, you won't have to look very far for that special card, bat, ball, or autograph. Major auction houses and third-party grading companies will be on site to assist you with your collecting and authentication needs. Some of your favorite superstars will be on hand, including NFL Hall of Famers The Bus, Jerome Bettis, Marcus Allen, Eddie George, Baseball Hall of Famer Chipper Jones, and many more. Over 40 guests in total. For more information, go to www.csashows.com. That's the Chantilly Show, where you can find all of your sports collectible treasures.
You also got to check out the Sterling Sports Auction going on right now that ends on June 19th. Our good pal, Lee Barron's nice guy, has some very great cards in this event that are very affordable for the everyday collector. Check out some of these great pieces. An M116 SGC Walter Johnson, a big train, as well as a W572 SGC 40, a DiMaggio 1939 play ball, as well as a 41 play ball. a T206 Cobb, bat on the shoulder with a broadleaf back, a Kimball, Annie Oakley, and Panini Jordan Love autograph. Annie Oakley, any relation to Charles Oakley? I'm not sure. Remember, there's no sales tax in
one was a better shooter.
Remember, there's no sales tax in Minnesota. Get your bids in by 8 p.m. in order to get the extended bidding. Go to sterlingsportsauctions.com to get your bids in. We love Lee's a great guy. You know, one guy that we never, another favorite of mine before we end this. You remember Crybaby Cannon? Anybody remember Crybaby
George
Cannon?
Cannon, yes.
Now,
Wrestler and a manager.
I'm sorry, he did become a manager?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because when he would start losing, he would sit on the ring floor and start crying. and the opposing wrestler would not know what to do and walk over sometimes and try to comfort him. And then, of course, when he tries to comfort him, Crybaby Cannon would like grab him by the eyeballs and start pummeling him.
That's like Rico after a bad show.
Great wrestler. Great wrestler. Anyway, listen, guys, I really want to take that. Thank you so much, man. We have a blast with both of you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe, I asked Joe to come on. Obviously, Joe brings a lot. I want it before we go, Joe. Let's talk about the Heritage schedule, man. You got all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's always another one. Yeah, we've got a June showcase that ends the 28th. We've got a July card auction that ends the 11th and 12th. And of course, heading into the National, we are bumping up against our consignment deadline for our massive summer platinum auction, which will be towards the end of August. And we'll be bringing that mini museum to the show and can't wait to see everyone out there.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hef, you're going to be at the National at all?
I will not be.
No, we figured
You're
that.
the first person I'm making it public to. I will not be. I'm going to spend time with the little kids.
Well, listen. Hold on. Bring the kids. Ellen will babysit them, and you can walk around the floor.
Next year, we're going to bring the kids. But Nora's only 3 months old, so it's it would be tough. And we sat down. We decided next year is going to be the year.
Yeah, we got to see you again, Mike. We got to see you again.
You see me all
right, guys. We're just about out of time. Joe, thanks so much for coming on board. Mike Hefner, thank you so much for coming on board. JM, always a pleasure dealing with you and Hulk Hogan.
You got it.
Well, you know what I'm trying to say, Mean Gene.
Special thanks to Charles Wright, a.k.a. Papa Shango and the Godfather. And Lou, as always, great job. We love you guys. Next week, don't forget the first round of the AI Gacs tournament with Rico Petrocelli, who doesn't give two damns about it. With that being said, hang in there. We'll see you guys next week, and happy collecting.
Thank you.